Hey viewers, welcome to my orchid world. Today I will be talking about how different materials can be used to mount orchids. I basically mount my orchids on trees because I have trees available, but many of orchid growers may not have trees in the backyard or in their front yard. So, where should we mount if we do not have trees around? So, I will be talking about different materials where you can mount your orchids and happily they will grow. It is not absolutely necessary to mount them on trees only. You can use different type of materials. We will talk about them. In this screen, you can see one dendrobium orchid growing on a tree. The tree seems to be dead. It is in a local nursery in my town. The orchid is happily growing. See the nice fresh leaves. This is a species dendrobium orchid, very commonly found in my area. Although I do not know the name of this orchid, the blooms are very tiny, white, and it is not in winter rest. How do you know that? You can see two new growths. They are very tiny leaves. They are growing, and so we know that the orchid is not in winter rest. Yeah, I have talked about winter rest in my previous video. Please do check out that video. So let us talk about how different materials, what kind of materials we can use to mount our orchids, which orchids we should mount on trees, or say the different materials. So let us begin our video. The first and the most easily available material that you can use to mount your orchids is a piece of wood. So where do you get this wood from? Is there any special type of wood that you have to use? I will say no. You can use basically any wood piece that you find. Say you get a piece of leftover wood from the carpenter, or say you had some construction work at your house, some furniture, broken furniture. Any wood piece can be used to mount orchids. You can see I have mounted this Rhencostylus retusa on a square piece of wood. It's almost 1 year now I have mounted this orchid. The roots have nicely attached to the wood piece, and it is basically very easy if you want to detach the orchid from the wood piece. It will easily come off when you soak the orchid for some time. But I will say that if you want to mount your orchid on a piece of wood or say some other material, it should be permanent, because we should not disturb the orchid, because orchids generally grow in nature in a pendulous manner. They attach themselves to the tree branches, and hence they should not be disturbed. They will grow happily in these wood mounts. This is another orchid that I had mounted long back. You have seen this video in one of my previous videos. See how nicely the orchid is growing. It is totally attached to the wood piece. The wood piece has been overgrown by the roots, and I need to attach another piece of material. I'll attach preferably another wood piece to the back side of this orchid, so that the roots can expand and the orchid can grow more. So nicely you can see the roots have attached. You should not disturb the orchid once it is attached to the wood piece. It should be permanent, because disturbing the roots of the orchid will get affected and the blooms will suffer. You may not get blooms this year. So I will say that wood is the best material. It's easily available. I suppose we will get it. Everyone can collect wood pieces. It will be not a problem. Next easily available material is your plastic. This is a plastic slab which came with this orchid. Usually nurseries sell their orchids which are mounted on this kind of plastic slabs which have holes for the roots to move around to go in and out and get attached to the slab. This is a very easily available plastic. It is also available online. Not only this, you do not have to think that only this kind of plastics can be used to mount orchids. No, absolutely not. Basically, you can mount orchids on any plastic piece, because you have seen when you grow them in plastic pots, they attach themselves to the plastic pot as well, or inner wall of the plastic pot. So any kind of plastic also can be used to mount orchids. This is a smaller version of the previous one. I have saved it. The orchid unfortunately died. It was a Cattleya species, but I have saved the plastic slab which came with the orchid so that I can mount any other orchid. Whenever you mount an orchid on a piece of material, say a wood piece, always measure the size of the orchid to the wooden slab so that it will at least grow on the wooden slab for 2 to 3 years. I have this orchid, the division that I mentioned before of the dendrobium species orchid. So it is a tiny division, so it will nicely fit on the wood piece which I showed you earlier. So if I mount this orchid on the wood piece, it will last at least 2 to 3 years, and I do not have to worry to place another wooden slab with this orchid. So whenever you mount an orchid on a wood piece or any material, always measure the size and match the size of the orchid with the wooden slab, and so that you do not have to, again next year itself, you do not have to worry about placing another slab with the orchid. Another very commonly used material to mount orchids is coconut fiber. This is the coconut skin. Coconut is very commonly found in my place and many other places, and the skin can be used to mount orchids. The benefit of using coconut skin is that it has fiber inside, which acts as a medium, and you do not need to put any other medium inside the coconut skin. You can take 2 or 3 or 4 pieces of the coconut skin, bind it together and pot an orchid inside it. You can either hang the orchid or you can place this setup inside another pot, preferably an earthen pot. Watering is very easy. Once you water, you do not need to water it for many other days, because the fiber remains wet and you do not need to water it regularly every day. You can pot dendrobiums and oncidiums in this kind of setup. They do not mind the media being wet for few days, and hence you can pot dendrobiums and oncidiums here. Okay, let me show you how I use coconut skin to pot one of my orchids. I have taken a dendrobium dewey orchid. It is basically a species orchid. I will show you how easy it is to pot any orchid using coconut skin. I have taken 3 pieces of the coconut skin, thread, one scissor, and let us start now. Place the orchid in the middle portion so that you can see there is one new growth. Keep the new growth at the front side so that it gets space to grow, and new growths will start from this place, further new growths. Place the 3 parts or the parts of the skin of the coconut in such a way that the orchid stands firm, straight. It should not be bent. Adjust the pieces accordingly. Do not bury the orchid too deep inside the skin, and after that, once you adjust it, you can tie it with a thread, secure it with the thread. I have used cotton thread. Eventually, once it is set inside the coconut skin, the thread will decompose because you will be watering this setup, and eventually it will tear off. For the time being, it has been secured and it is quite stable. It is not moving at all. So this is very easy. Everyone can do this at home. On this setup you can hang it from three sides if you have a hanger, or you can place it in a earthen pot for stability, because as you can see it is round and it can topple if it won't stand on its own. Another method of mounting orchids on wood, let me show it. I have taken the dendrobium nobile seedlings. I had 3 or 4 seedlings with me, bought last year. This is a piece of wood that I collected. It's very beautiful and very appropriate. It has so many ridges. It has the outer bark portion also attached, and the part is quite rough. There are so many ridges, and you can mount in this kind of pieces. You can mount several orchids in the same wood piece. You can see the ridges. There are few holes. This type of wood pieces can be just made to stand, and you can mount the orchids according to your aesthetic sense. You can decorate it according to your choice. I have taken the nobile seedlings. I'll tie them with thread, and I'll use a piece of coconut fiber. There are 3 seedlings. There is one new growth starting, because already temperatures have started warming up. You can see new growths in your orchids also when temperature starts warming up. So wherever you see new growths, you just try to put it at the front side so that it gets space to grow. I will try to place the orchid in one of the ridges. It will easily, the ridges are quite wide enough. This is the way I will place it. You can see it. I'll use a piece of coconut fiber which will keep it moist and provide the necessary humidity to the orchid. Once new roots start appearing, they will attach themselves to the wood piece, and it will go through the various ridges of the wood piece. So I have used a thread to secure the orchid to the wood plank. If you want to hang the wood piece, then before mounting the orchid, try to make holes in the wood piece, whichever way you want to hang it, or you can pierce 2 nails on both sides and then use some string, some hard strong string to hang it. The coconut fiber will provide the necessary humidity once wet, and in place of coconut fiber you can use sphagnum moss as well. This will also do the same purpose. The main purpose is to provide humidity to the orchid so that it promotes new growth, new roots, and once new growths appear, they will attach themselves to the wooden piece, and then the sphagnum moss or the coconut fiber can be removed. Eventually it will decompose and then fall off. It is absolutely not necessary to remove it yourself. It may be placed, it can be kept there. There is no absolute need to remove it, because it is not going to do any harm after roots come out. So eventually it will decompose and fall off itself, so we do not need to do anything about it. By this method we can mount any orchid. You can even mount Cattleya orchids, Phalaenopsis orchids, any type of orchid can be mounted. Vanda orchids do well when they are bare rooted, so mounting them to wooden planks is not what I do. I basically grow my vandas bare rooted in baskets, slated baskets. I'm done with the mounting. As you can see, I have used two threads, one near the root and one to keep the plant in place, to keep the nobile in place. And once root come out, they will be secured by themselves with the root, and the threads, even if they tear off, will not harm the plant. I'll place this wooden plank in my orchid house itself at the back side. I'll just keep it standing, and this is one way of decorating. You can decorate it with according to your own choice, your own aesthetic sense. You can design it, you can cut it also in smaller pieces. This is a very big piece, and you can make it half also. You can make it according to your own choice. Temperatures have already started rising now in my place, and in few weeks it will be quite nice sunny, and spring will arrive, and then I'll see new growths, new roots, new leaves will start growing. Few of my phalaenopsis orchids are in buds now. Right now they will bloom, and the best time to mount orchids is when temperature starts rising. The one wood piece that I had shown you before, I have mounted the dendrobium division that I received. I have mounted it without any coconut fiber or sphagnum moss. It will grow by itself. Most common method of mounting orchids in my area is on trees. In this tree you can see several different orchids are mounted on the same tree. This is how people grow orchids in my area. Nevertheless, if trees are not available, we have alternate options of mounting them on wood pieces, on coconut skin, even thermocol or styrofoam. And also, if you have nice big decorative rocks, you can mount orchids on rocks as well. So option is up to you, whichever way you like. Hope you liked the video. Hope it was helpful for you. Hope this video gave you some tips on how to mount orchids. If you have liked it, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.